When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come, longing just to bring something that's worth that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself, it's not what you have required.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I am DJ Pastor Terry Jr. today because I am doing the show by myself. And y'all keep Tish Hester in prayer. She lost her brother. She's usually here with me tonight helping me do the show. But y'all keep her in prayer. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Your Story. I am excited. I'm always excited on Saturdays that we always have a special guest that will share their story and how God has turned their whole life around from the dark side to the light. Amen. So it's amazing. And I thank God that God has given me a platform to allow brothers and sisters to come out and share their story. But we have a man who's been through the storm, and he's ready to share his story with you guys. And I'm telling you, you just better hold on to your seatbelt because it's going to bless you. And I was blessed just from hearing a little bit of it, and I'm telling you, it's going to really bless you. So y'all get ready and hold on to your seatbelt. If you got your iPads, your iPhone, whatever you use with an eye on it, you might get ready to watch because it's about to be a phenomenal story. And I'm sure he's excited about sharing his story. And y'all get ready. So I'm going to introduce this young brother. And he's going to share his story and how he went through a storm, but God calmed it. Amen. So y'all get ready. Introduce yourself, man, and glad to meet you. And
glad to meet you,
man, don't be scared of them.
Oh, no,
they just
no.
folks, man. That's all. They just folks that just be watching the camera and while we,
No doubt.
Amen.
No doubt.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, man, and
Well,
so the people can know who you are.
Well, yes, as you know, my name is Willie Florence. Most people call me Hank, but yeah, my name is Willie Florence.
So now you gotta talk. You got that little cool voice and stuff. So you gotta be loud.
I gotta be okay. That's kind of.
You got that little cool voice. My name is Willie Florence. And,
I get it.
I'm just cool like that.
I get it, man. That's just a force of habit. Man.
No, it's cool.
But yeah, my name is Willie Florence. Most people call me Hank. It's a family nickname. Like the brother said, I've been through a little storm, which really isn't unique in that sense,
right.
Because it's the same story that you will hear about people coming up in lower middle class neighborhoods or in poverty and doing what they feel they need to do,
exactly. Yeah.
And it puts them in places that they don't want to be.
Right.
So that part of my story is not unique. It probably got more twists than others, but it's not unique. Like we spoke earlier, and I was telling you, I really chose to come on your platform and tell this chapter or section of my story instead of the whole story because it's something that I would like for everybody, regardless of what walk of life that they're in, to be aware of. And I know that most people, if they're not on a certain walk, they won't pay attention to things that come up out of their walk, as far as like advice or juices and stuff like that. Outside of that, I would like to just, kind of get into it and explain to you.
Well,
why.
that's what we're here for. And so we know, like you said earlier, that it was a different walk of life for you as growing up. You know, so
no doubt.
So share with the people that walk.
And I don't want to seem shy, but I'm really not proud of certain parts of my life. But I will share that.
Yeah.
You know, coming from a lower middle class neighborhood, not having as much as I thought I deserved.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in my life, I thought that, you know, I deserved what everybody else deserved.
Mm-hmm.
So I was willing to do whatever it took, just about within reason to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the oldest of three, so it kind of stops with me.
Right.
I don't know what number you fall in, but I'm the oldest, so I'm the problem solver.
We got you.
So I'm the one that really was, for loss of better words, was sacrificed to make sure that things go smooth.
Right.
You know, selling drugs or, you know, just normal urban stuff, man, to go with being in the streets.
So when you say selling drugs, I mean, we know a lot of people. I seen a lot of people as I grew up. You know, I seen a lot of that happening. People selling drugs and doing, you know, living that crazy life. So for you, selling drugs, what was that like for you? Like, what led you into selling drugs? Like, how did you get into that?
Man, I'll tell you this.
Okay.
Unfortunately for me,
Right.
you know, like I said, I'm the oldest of three, and I was asked to help out financially at an early age, working outside. I mean, I started out carrying people's groceries from their car and pumping people's gas up right here on 3rd and Gettysburg. You know, having to beat the guys, you know, all due respect to the guys, you know, the Alton Court guys and the Hilltop guys. We get up first thing in the morning and get up there to pump that gas or go to carry somebody.
I was there.
You know, yeah. In the summertime, we borrow a lawnmower and hit as many yards as we can in our perimeter of, which is Westwood, where I'm from.
Right.
And make sure we stand guard on 3rd Street and make sure that the guys from the courts or Hilltop don't cross 3rd Street to try to shovel snow or cut grass.
Right.
We felt like that was ours.
Right.
Unfortunately, though, when things got tough, when the crack epidemic hit, it didn't discriminate in the neighborhoods. You know, it burnt the resources of the people that had it all just as fast as it did, or a little bit faster than the people that had nothing. So it kind of leveled the playing fields. You had a lot of people who took that route to make ends meet, and most of them were children.
Right,
You know,
gotcha.
most of them was children. And from that, I got in like that. Nobody, you know, it wasn't no guy standing on the corner like, "Hey, little kid, come here, you want to make some money?" No, it just was organic from us being hustlers to where, like, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was on the news. It said it was coming. The crack cocaine is, and that it was going to change the world. Us being kids, you know, depending on what section you lived in, you know, you had the guys from Alton Courts. They was bank robbers and car thieves, and you know, not to downplay them, but that was they play. You know, you had some guys from some neighborhoods. They did home invasions or you know, things like that, or robbed, you know, small businesses and things like that. But when the crack thing hit, it kind of became universally the way to get some money.
Right.
You know?
Right. Got
Like
you.
Most people dib and dabbed in that to get some money. Some made it out without getting caught up. Some didn't make it out at all with their lives. Some went to prison. Me, unfortunately, that isn't why I went to prison for selling drugs, but the residue off of that whole game, that whole lifestyle is what, you know, ended up getting me caught up, like most people.
So what's it like? And I know in that lifestyle, you know, selling drugs, you kind of experience a different life. You kind of go to different levels because, and I don't, like I said, I don't know, but I've seen, right? So is there for you where like you said, I was selling the drugs. Did you kind of like go to another level in that? Like,
Well, I'll say this.
okay,
I'm from Westwood, born and raised.
right, yeah, that was my area. I hung out in Westwood.
You know, when the Fair Housing Act happened,
Right.
my family was probably like one of the first 10 families to move to Westwood.
Mm-hmm.
Westwood wasn't a crack cocaine neighborhood in the
Right.
beginning. It just wasn't acceptable behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this reluctantly, but most of the apartment complexes
Mm-hmm.
in the whole country became the major distributing areas.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask me if it made me go to another level,
Mm-hmm.
of course having to go to places where these people are certified have-nots.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I appear not to be a have-not because I lived in a lower middle class neighborhood.
Right.
But these people are really like certified have-nots.
Right.
And to invade their territory,
Wow.
you know what I'm saying, while they trying to like do what they got to do to come up out of there,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be a different type of person.
Right.
I mean, you can feel like you don't have to be, or if you got relatives up there and everybody, but yeah, it was definitely a contact sport. So
Right.
like, you have to have a pivot
Right.
and
Gotcha.
be willing to get,
Gotcha.
you know, because it made violent drug addicts. So you know it had to produce more violent drug dealers.
Right. Gotcha.
You know? And I don't really consider that to be violence.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I ain't saying that to be arrogant. I consider that to be survival.
Right.
You know, and survival is knowing when to be violent and knowing when not to be violent.
Gotcha.
You know, you really like it's not like that now. These guys is like hitting, running. And, you know, they stay and moving and stuff like that. But there was a time where that money was up in them projects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unless you was going to turn, which eventually happened, unless you were willing to turn your neighborhood into a projects.
Mm.
You know, even if it was a
Right.
lower middle class neighborhood,
Right.
which eventually happened.
Okay.
Because you know, the more violent it got, it just didn't make sense to go up there and go through what a lot of people was
Gotcha.
going through. If you ain't from up there, why
Yeah.
not just post up where you from?
Right. Right.
If
right.
you was that ignorant, you know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
And you know, unfortunately, I got that ignorant before. But yeah, so I really don't consider myself to be violent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
consider myself to be willing to survive.
Right. You was more of the hustler type. Just
I wouldn't say that.
you went okay.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I wouldn't say that. You know,
Okay.
Because I know some guys that's hustlers. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Me, you ever play basketball?
Yeah. Not good, but yeah, I played it.
You ever seen how some guys play for the contact?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're
Like,
right.
you could have made that shot, but you went this way and went that way, like you
Right.
was almost
Right.
waiting to play off for the bump.
Right.
And scales of hustling, if you went from 1 to 10, I probably was the guy that was playing off of the contact. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I got you.
As long as I had enough to keep my lights on,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, my mother's lights on, and, you know, keep a decent pair of shoes on for me and my younger brothers, and, you know, just make things right in my household.
Mm-hmm.
I was good. But I know dudes that was down like four flat tires, bro.
Gotcha.
Like and with respect for them and them losing their lives, be it in the graveyard or doing the rest of their life just for selling drugs. Nah, man, I wasn't a hustler for real like that.
Nah.
As
So-
far as drugs go, now,
Wow.
I get some money, but I would. I know some guys that got all the way down.
So how long were you into that? Like,
And it's wild that you would ask that because it seemed like an eternity.
mm,
But in all actuality, we talking about. I was incarcerated by the time I was 19 years old.
wow.
You know, so we talking about no more than 3.5 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
3 years. And that sounds like just a small time, but that's when you're a juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
A summer is a lifetime.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You miss a summer, you heartbroken.
Right. Right.
You remember
Right.
you was a kid, your people put you on punishment for a week. You sound like you feel like you didn't miss
Right. Yeah.
your
No,
whole
I know.
life.
I know.
So 3 years, being out there 3 years, 3 years, that was that. You know, yeah, that was that.
Did you ever think that you wouldn't get caught or because what was I know the surprise when you get caught. It's like, baby, did you ever think that you wouldn't get caught or like what was that like for you when it happened?
I'll say this because I called it juvenile. I
Called
called it juvenile. Did 6 months.
Okay.
Well, it's supposed to add up to 6 months. It didn't. They let me out early. But it's like I was saying about playing for that contact.
That contact, right.
You know, most guys predict what the consequences is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So they play for that. You know, when I was a kid, 6 months. They get us caught up as we juvenile, 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me? That isn't always the case,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't always go for what you think you're
Mm-hmm.
going for.
Right.
You know, it don't always work like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it don't always work like that.
And that 6 months, you did 6 months the first time.
Actually, I did 4.5
4.5.
in juvenile downtown in the little DH spot.
Right. So when you got out of that, did you go back? Did you go back into that lifestyle again, or did you take a break, or what happened?
I'll tell you this. No, I did not take a break.
Wow.
Because it was a lifestyle. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't physical. It was mental.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't physical. It was spiritual. So like while I was in there, I was like, I felt like I was being cheated. I felt like my family was being cheated. I got to get out here and make this right. It's like we down bad.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's like getting benched. If you've ever played some sports, like if you still got that mind frame to go
Mm-hmm.
like that, it don't make a difference how much time they give you. You're just on the bench.
So that's what I was sitting here thinking, like, your whole time, and okay, you're 4 months in, all you can think about is getting back out and playing a game.
Not all I can think about. That was a lot of what I thought about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being 15, 16
Mm-hmm.
years old, the most thing I can think about is, you know, females. You know what I'm saying? While you in there, you like, man, like,
right.
you know, man, I can't wait to get back out here
Right.
to this, or I can't wait to get back
Right.
out to that. But, you know, it's when we children, we think it's children. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what my take was.
Right.
And I don't want to speak for everybody who's ever been locked up as a juvenile, but I mean, I would think that's what most people think about.
Right.
It's waiting to get back out there and have some, you know, get back to it.
Right. So when after that was them 4 months was over and you got back out there, where do we go from here?
Well, I'll say this. It's then, I can't really speak on these streets.
Okay.
But back then, the streets was a funny thing.
Mm-hmm.
The streets represented kind of like a different. It was just it was different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went and did your time, anytime,
Mm-hmm.
when you came home, you were a permanent fixture of whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you told them off the rip, I'm never doing that again.
Okay.
And even if you said that, you still were a permanent fixture
Mm-hmm.
until you turn your hand over to the Joker, which is like testify against somebody or do something. You ain't got to worry about it. You through.
Wow.
But as long as you haven't done that, people consider you still to be the reserved.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right,
Like
right,
the reserved.
right.
Like if times get hard enough, if it get hot enough out here, he gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
You know he gonna go.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He gonna go because he won't have a choice.
Right.
At the age I was, now
Right.
if I was an adult, yeah, I could go get a job. I could go, but you got to figure back then, the only really employment that teenagers had going on was summer jobs for most of the folks.
Right,
Summer
yeah.
jobs or McDonald's or
Right,
something like
right.
that. And those are cool if you have that type of time.
Right. Gotcha.
You understand what I'm saying?
Got you.
Like,
Got you. Yeah.
if the bills is due tomorrow, going to put an application in McDonald's today doesn't solve your problem.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That, I mean, it would be nice and it would be wholesome, but like, hey, if somebody says to you, hey, these lights is off tomorrow,
Gotcha.
we need to figure out an idea. Putting in an application anywhere doesn't solve your problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Putting in an application doesn't solve your problem. And this ain't a shot. This ain't a shot at religion or anything like that. Some people were part of institutions
Mm-hmm.
or churches who could and would come through.
Mm-hmm.
Others weren't.
Right.
If you happen to be part of a church that you know, they was into saving souls, but they didn't have the resources to try to save lives. I mean, to save, you know what I'm saying? An incident like that will make a dude double down and he'll never go to church again. He just like, oh, okay, I see what this is. It's cool when you know, but when we need them,
right.
I got to get out here and do what I got to do.
Right.
So that's kind of like where was putting a lot of youngsters at. Back then, like this new stuff these guys got going on, I really can't speak on it, man.
Right.
But, you know, that back then it was, you know, I'll say this, and hopefully this answers your question. The people that didn't need to be out there, them 4.5 months got them up out of there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like when them 4.5 months was enough for them to be like, oh, I'm cool.
Right.
But the people who felt they needed to be out there like that, 400 months, 4,000 months ain't enough time to change their mind if they don't see it. Any help coming from anywhere else.
I got you. So the journey, so for you, 4 months was not enough, right? So,
Absolutely.
Okay, so now you go on and you back at it again, right? So let's talk about that moment. Then when you, like, everything just came on you, like, wham, and now my life is gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that snuck up.
Right.
You know, that snuck up because it wasn't planned, and you know the case was what probably some people would consider to be a cold case because it just came up later on. The moment when it was like my life was gone was more about the conditioning not to cooperate with the authorities. When I was sitting in that courtroom on trial, and they were like, you know, if you're willing to say this or do this, this can happen for you. That can happen for you. And I was like, that moment when they said that the only way that I could get my life back was to be a part of their system and stuff like that. That's it's gone. That was it's gone because honestly, and I mean I'm not promoting wrongdoing, but honestly, I just could never do that. You know, not to go in a rabbit hole, but like I've come from a different era where, you know, my great grandmother basically raised me. You know, she died in 1989, and she was 90. So we talking about the 1800s. You know, we had a different type of vibe going on in our house, to where, you know, I really knew that, like, the difference between Django and Steven. I like really knew the difference between the two. And you know, that's how a lot of people get tricked. But I really knew the difference that, hey, under no circumstances do you do this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you ask me the moment that I realized my life was gone was the moment that they explained to me that the only way it wouldn't be gone is if I would cooperate with the authorities. You know, and they don't, I mean, that's not what the story is now. You know what I'm saying? That's not what the struggle is now. Back then the struggle was everybody like-minded against poverty, against authority, against racism, that was the struggle. You could just about take for granted that somebody would join in if you were struggling. That's not what the struggle is now. The struggle is like, you know, trying to be as indifferent as you can be to the people that's trying to help you. That's what I feel like the struggle turned into. But yeah, the moment I figured out, I felt like my life was gone was the moment I looked up and seen that I had painted myself in a corner with what my perspective was, you know. And keep in mind, things weren't as gloom or as dim as I thought that they were. But it didn't matter because I believed that they were. You know what I'm saying? I believed that it was like I was in a do or die situation. Nobody could convince me anything different. Pertaining to the 4 months, when I went in, when I came out, 4 months the bills were still due. Nothing had happened nothing had transpired in between them 4 months for me to be able to say, I don't have to be that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't, you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It doesn't work like that. It's when you connect it, it just doesn't work like that. I could go do 4 years. If nothing changes in my family or my circle's financial resources, if nobody gets a job, if nobody, you know, when I come out, I have to invest into a short-term solution to a long-term problem, which is hustling or doing whatever I got to do. And that's just what that turned into, my brother.
Right. So now that you, like I said, now that you know, you did all that, and because I see, I'm listening because it was more about your family.
Yes.
It was more about the you know, keeping your family in surviving mode.
Yes.
So, but when I think of, I mean, you have a major story because I'm following you I'm following you. Even now, like even, you know, you went through all that, and like I said, that, let me just say this. I'm gonna say it in this way because I kind of want to get the people to really understand. Talk about when the cage closed.
Okay. Now, this may sound, I mean, the cage didn't close for 14 years after I was in prison. You know, a lot of people, like you and I discussed, believe that once you get sent away, you'll see who your true friends are, or this and that, and you're all alone. Fortunately for me, when I got locked up, my whole family got locked up. I'm not just talking about parents, I'm talking about cousins, aunties, because I come from a close-knit family. So when I got locked up, you know, my brothers were like really children, you know what I'm saying? When I got locked up, and this isn't to put anybody out there, but like, when I got locked up, probably 75-80% of the adults in my family were drug addicts, hardcore drug addicts. So that in turn had me responsible for most of my cousins, most of my, you know what I'm saying, most of my cousins' children and stuff like that. Because like I said, my great-grandmother, you know what I'm saying, the head of our family, she raised me. I was only like 3 people that ever lived in her house. I was one of them. So I had more of a sense of a family than most people did. You know what I'm saying? So when they locked me up, the help was gone. You understand what I'm saying? Like not just the financial help, the physical help. Because I'm the guy that, they don't want to act like they got some sense. These boys don't want to leave in front of their house. Call Big Mama's house. Tell her to send him. You hear me? Pack my lunch, pack my bag, go over there, just drag what I got to drag. Spend the weekend, come home. So my family is the numbers of men are like grossly outnumbered by the numbers of women. It's probably like one guy to every 8-9 females. So like, you know, I gotta go. Not everybody was willing to go. So like, if it's 8 to 9 to every one guy, if 2 of them ain't going, then that leave me with like 20-something people to ride for.
Right.
And that just became more of my calling than anything else. So when the drug thing happened and people, you know, became addicts, I became that guy too. You know what I'm saying? Like if you, like back then, if you see me somewhere posted up, you usually see a couple of my uncles or one of my aunts, you know what I'm saying, posted up where I'm at too, or a few of my cousins, they right there where I'm at. You know, I probably could have been a very successful drug dealer if I was a selfish person. If I was the type of guy like some of these guys got 2 or 3 cars and their mama ain't got a can of beans in their house. You hear me? I just wasn't that type of guy. So, you know, when mine came, as fast as it came, it went. You know, to make sure that this person, you know, to keep, you know, and I know y'all got a certain type of platform, but if I can be a little brief with you, I mean, like, candid. You know, man, I had to keep a lot of my female family members, cousins and aunties and stuff like that, from being chewed up and spit out by the streets. Because, you know, we ain't got no, I ain't trying to be funny, but we don't have any unattractive women in my family. So, you know, and they ain't made out of no money. So I had to do what I had to do, You know what I'm saying? And like, hey, keep that girl over there with you. You know, they be trying to do personals with them and this and that. And keep them over there where you at. So I used to keep a lot of them close to me. My family was the type of family, when the first of the month came, my older aunts would make sure we go gather up all of the mothers, take them to Stumps right up here where it used to be Stumps, cash all the checks, get all the food stamps, get the percentage to make sure that the kids have somewhere to stay and that they will have food for the rest of the month, and give whoever else the remainder of it for them to go do whatever they're going to do. We'll see you next month. But you had to have somebody that had the sand and the grit to go gather them and make sure that they didn't put it down on you, because they'd go in one door, go out the other door, all type of, stuff. So it was more than just trying to have some fun and just, because I don't smoke and I don't drink and stuff like that. I can count on one hand the time I've done something like that. And that was after I was 18. But the door shut. To get back to the door shutting, the door shut 2005. 2004 they gave me a parole while I was in. I walked to the front door and it stopped me. 18 years later I got out. I don't really want to go too deep into that part of it, but like the door shut after that because the day Hurricane Katrina happened, I arrived at a Supermax prison. And going up there, the morning, I seen one of my uncles on the bus. He's not here anymore, rest his soul. His name is Henry Crane. He called him Pepe. But I seen him on the bus. And as dim and as dark as the bus was, because it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, they transporting us. I seen him in the dark. Real talk, I seen him, just seen his eyes. And he stood up and I said, "What's up, huh?" And he was always at the back of the bus. This is how the door shut and started, the day of it. I seen him, brought me to him. I hadn't seen him in 14 years. He hugged me. He said, "Man, you okay?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Man, listen, you keep your head up." I said, "Well, you ain't got a choice." He said, "That's what I'm talking about." Kissed me on my forehead, hugged me through the chains, which was like I can't, when you used to getting a real hug, and if somebody's trying to give you a hug to put an exclamation point on keep your head up and your foot down, that's really kin to you, and the only thing they can do is really just grab your hands and pull you closer and say, "Keep your head up, man." I was like, hey, motherfuckers won't even, I apologize.
Nah, you good, man.
I'm like, these jokers won't even let me hug. This is my real, they won't even let me hug him, you hear me? And he just was looking at me. He said, "Hey, man, it's going to be all right." I said, "Yes, sir." So I leave, and they get me on my way down to a Supermax prison, which everywhere you go, they letting you know that to society, you animal. You know what I'm saying? I'm chained like that. But the breaking point didn't come from that. The breaking point came when they put me in that cell. And you hear people say "Yeah, man, when you get in that cell and that door shut," man, the door shut and didn't do nothing to me. I don't know anybody that it does, but it was two things in the cell when I got in there, because you have to inspect it. You got to look around and see what you're dealing with. I know it might sound corny, but you got to make sure you got no spiders in a corner that hit you while you sleep. Anything you look around. But I looked around and I seen two things, brother, and this is where the turning point came. I looked up and I seen a little note with a hangman's noose, and it said, "This is your only out. Take it." At first glance, I the ignorant mind, I thought racism. I'm like, man, one of these old racist ass, one of these old racist jokers. Then I looked at it and I said, man. And then I looked down, and the other one said, "In all my 38 years of living, the only thing I can truly say that I've ever learned is that every adversity has within it the opportunity to be of a greater or equal benefit." And when I seen that, I realized that the top one wasn't racism. It wasn't even, I was far off. I realized that the top one was basically spiritual warfare. This is designed, this is where the breaking down comes from. You know what I'm saying? This is designed to break somebody. This is hopelessness at its best. And I looked at it and I was like, it's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I looked down and I thought about it. And I just, at that point, I had to make a decision. I had to make a choice. You know, I don't know if somebody else that was put in that cell would have looked at it the same way I did, but at that point I realized that I had to make a choice on what my core value was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Was it going to continue to be like, you know, to allow my circumstances to inject hopelessness into me?
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I didn't speak hopelessness, I moved hopelessness a lot of times. I made a lot of like moves that people who aren't hopeless don't make.
Mm-hmm.
But the latter of the two, that one spoke to me like, hey man, I don't care what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I really felt like that. I was raised like, I don't care what's going on. I'm standing on business, as these people say out here now. I'm gonna have to stand on business, and like, it ain't over with. You know, it ain't over with. Listen, it's not never over with until you in the ground, covered up.
Right.
I don't care. It's not over with until you're in the ground covered up.
Right.
And if you don't have that in you, spiritually, it won't hit you like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people like to say that people turn their life around. In them instances, I like to say that people did 360s, because I don't know a lot of people who didn't start out good. You understand what I'm saying?
Right,
To say that you turned it around, meaning that you just, you know, if you start out good, you know what I'm saying, and you go right here, and then you turn your life, that's not a 360. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to do a whole complete 360 in order to get back to the best version.
Right.
I mean, that's how I feel.
No, you're right. Right.
At that point, it's easy to do this in prison. I'm gonna say this. It's not probably as easy to do it out here, but it was easier in prison for me to strip down and be guarded and not letting certain stuff enter my spirit than a person could do that out here. Does that make sense to you?
Right.
Because you got to strip down. It's not really easy to do out here because life ain't gonna slow up for you to do that.
Right. Right.
Bills gonna keep on billing. Like they say, life gonna keep on life. The thing it ain't life gonna keep on lifing. Bills gonna keep on billing. You hear me?
Right.
You gonna have a bill. So while you sitting trying to do all this self work, them bills gonna be there. And like, you know, fortunately for me, I was at a place where I didn't have that type of chaser on me. Took a deep breath, man. I thought I had I took a deep breath. You know, lady friend said something to me that kind of slapped me to reality. And what she said was pertaining to them stopping me from getting out. Because I said, you know, I made a comment or something like, man, I did this time, and they didn't gave me a parole. I got to the door, and then they stopped me from getting out. So when they stopped me from getting out, you know, I was like, man, they didn't stop me from getting out. You hear me?
Wow.
And her comment was, you only seeing the side of the door that you was on. And I was like, and she's not really a profound person like that. To speak like that. But she said, you keep talking about them stopping you. That's only the side of the door that you seen, that you experienced. You keep forgetting that it was people on the other side of the door that was waiting on you to get out. And that, like, you know, like, man, they got to get their legs back together. You hear me? And it was pertaining to, like, people not being accessible after what happened to me. And she just, you know, just thoroughly explained to me, like, hey, it's because they ain't got their legs up under them neither. That was a heck of a blow. So, you know, at that point I realized, you hear it a lot of times, people say it, man, wasn't nobody coming to save me. You hear me?
Right.
So I had to sit down, 2.5+ hours away from Dayton. You know, I ain't got no distractions.
Right.
Turn on the news, ain't number West Virginia. You hear me?
Right.
So the only thing that showed any type of resemblance was The Price is Right every day. And man, I just sat down and I shook it off. I mean, I shook the little pieces of what was going on off, and I was all the way bare. Started with, you know what I'm saying, a new canvas, you know. And it's different type of campuses. I mean, canvases though. You know that, right?
Right.
Like, I started off with a fresh canvas,
Mm-hmm.
and man, I started putting forth effort to not rewrite my story because I wouldn't want to rewrite my story.
Was there any like a type of fear for you being in there, like physically, mentally? Like, was there any type of when you, like you said earlier, when you realized you were in here,
Mm-hmm.
did that moment of fear just kick in, and you thinking, man, this is where I'm at, and I don't know what's going to go on. I don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen because you're in this cage of where you're looking at walls, you're watching The Price is Right. You know, that's all you have, and it's like you don't know these people you're surrounded by, and that fear. Do you ever think about like, man, this somebody can do whatever to me in here, or
Man, let me say this. Because I really don't want to come off as somebody. Because
no, man, say
because some of the most offensive stuff is that
man. Say whatever
when
you
people feel like you a tough guy. I ain't no tough guy, but I will say this.
No, say it,
My
man.
fears, I've never had those type of fears.
Okay.
But I did have fears. I never had the type of fears about anybody doing anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably because, you know, I had a mother. I still got a mother. I'm not able to physically touch her no more, but I still got a mother. She just elsewhere right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this, and I wasn't raised like that. And that's not to say that I'm no tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised with one simple ideology, man. You can't control what people do. You can only focus on what you ain't gonna let them get away with.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never been worried about nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it happened, it happened. But what I was fearful of, what I did have concerns about, was my mental health and my spirituality. Because, like, when they gave me a parole and walked me to the door and then brought me back, had it not been for people on the outside communicating with me and letting me know how effed up that was, I probably would have thought it was a figment of my imagination, that I had lost it, I had slipped. Because you see people in there so many times say like, yeah, I'm out of here, man, because they put faith before everything else. You gotta say it, you gotta speak it, so a lot of guys go crazy. I mean, you know, not crazy, but a lot of people, mental health is real. So a lot of people say, man, you know, I'm gonna pray my way up out of this. I'm gonna speak my way up out of this. And you see them give all their stuff away, like, y'all go home tomorrow, and then you see the people from the mental health thing come and get them because they ain't even never went to the parole board. They still got 50 years to the board, but they think that they can pray their way up out of it. So my biggest fear, really like one of my only fears, was that I don't want to lose my mind. I don't care about how painful it is to go through what I'm going through. I'll go through it willingly. I just don't want to wake up and not have my mental health.
That's deep.
You hear me?
That's deep. Yeah.
Because that's like, I couldn't imagine that, man. You know, like, I just didn't. That was the only fear I had. You know, that was the only fear I had, losing my mental health like that. And another fear was, like, the only other fear I had was losing my, you know what I'm saying, humanity. Because, like, there are people, man, not necessarily in prisons, physical prisons. There are people, man, who really don't care. I mean, like, about nothing. And you won't even know it. You know what I'm saying? There are people that you can look in their eyes, and if people have been locked up, they know what I'm talking about. You can look in people's eyes, and you don't see nothing. I'm talking about, I ain't talking about mental health. I'm talking about, this is spiritual, straight darkness, you know? And I was like, man, I don't ever want to wake up and be like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I had the makings. I had all the ingredients of being a sociopath. I had all the ingredients of being that. I could have easily went to that and people would have understood. But I prayed more about not being that and not being somebody who didn't have a mental health than I did about everything, than anything else. I'm like, man, just don't let me, because I've seen people, you know, who've have absolutely no value for human life. You know what I'm saying? No, none. Read a book. You ever heard the word Faust?
Mm-mm.
I read a book when I was in confinement about Faust. I hope I'm pronouncing it right because it's a German word. But basically about a guy who sold his soul to the devil. Sold his soul to the devil, and the devil wouldn't tell him what the price was. You know, at first he was just like, "What do you need?" He was telling him everything he needed, and he was like, "Well, what is this going to cost me?" And the person he was talking to at the time, he didn't know who it was. He said, "I'll tell you what, just give me your soul when you pass away. When you pass away, just give me your soul." So I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's cool. I ain't gonna need it no more anyway." You hear me? And he made the guy everything that the guy wanted him to be. Came time for him to get old, and came time for him to leave, and the guy pop up and he said, "Hey, you got that? Let me get that." And the guy says to him, "I can't get that to you because it don't belong to me. You hear me? I can't give you something that doesn't belong to me. My soul is connected to every soul basically in the universe." I'm paraphrasing because it was in German. I really didn't know how to speak it. I just had to listen to it on tape. But he basically told the guy, like, "Listen, man, what I promise you, I can't, because it's not mine, and it's connected to every soul that it is. So we're going to work something out." And he kind of like reneged, backed out of it. When I read it, I was just like, I never realized that, you know, everybody is connected like that. And when somebody is disconnected like that, it's unimaginable to me. You know, you're in a movie theater. I watched a movie one time while I was in for Color Girls Only. You ever seen that?
Color Girls?
For Color Girls Only. Movie, man. It's a deep movie, but a guy drops some kids out the window. I'm in a cell block with at least 60% killers. I'm talking about people who by deed, not just psyche, by deed they didn't send somebody on through. That part of the movie, everybody in the whole day room cringed. You understand what I'm saying? Because they all still had it in them to like be touched by that. I didn't never want to be a guy that could see something like that, fictional or not, and it not make me cringe about kids or about stuff like that. So when you talk about my fears, those are the only fears that I had. I didn't have fears about anybody doing anything physical to me because I'm gonna do it back.
Right.
You know, if I got breath, I got life in my body, and I ain't. Man, listen, the last thing I want to do is, because people here 32 and a half years, and they think that a guy dragging his knuckles around like a gorilla. This is not.
I was going to ask you, you know, because I'm sure people want to know how much time you did, and you said it, 32 years.
32 and a half.
Yeah, 32. I was going to ask you that. Like,
I put emphasis on the half because the half was the first or the last 6 months. And in both cases, that was the hardest part of the time.
So you said, and that's crazy, 32 years. So you did, what, 15, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, you did 15 and you was on parole.
Well, I did 14. I went to the parole board. They gave me a parole. While I was walking out the door, they rescinded it. I never got free. And I ended up doing 18 more years. Corrections. Me and my family ended up doing 18 more years of that. You know, and it's deep, but I'll share this with you. It's funny. This is humor to me. I hear a lot of people talk about, you know, when you read stuff, you hear like such and such is where he is because he sacrificed people. You hear me? Or this person is where they're at because they sacrificed, you know, this person. They made human sacrifices. That's funny to me. I'm not saying that it's not true, but it's just funny to me. And why that is so funny is because I lost a brother while I was in there. I lost a lot of family members while I was in there. And, you know, I look at this, like I look at it like this. Like that saying I told you, every adversity has within it the opportunity to be of a greater or at least equal benefit. Losing my brother meant I just had one more angel up there helping me navigate. You hear me saying? It probably needed a little bit more help to get to where I'm at now. I got out the door. My mother, I'm saying, bless her soul, she was able to see me do that. Shortly after that, she left. Now, you know, most people don't understand my take on it, but if my brother, you know what I'm saying, If he left, I'm saying that's why he left. If my brother is in a position to help me get through what I was going through in there, spiritually, then, you know, my mother has to have moved on to make sure that I got everything I need to maneuver it down here in this new world spiritually, you know. Yeah, man, 32 and a half years, it's a lot. You know, I don't have to say it's a lot, but when I say it's a lot, I mean a different type of a lot. Spiritually. You know, it was a lot of, man, listen, it was a lot of battles daily. You know, when you, that's as big of a bipolar as a person can experience, being dead and being alive at the same time. You know, it's a different thing. You have to fight off being upset about other people's rejoicements. You understand what I'm saying? Whenever somebody says, I'm out of here tomorrow, y'all keep y'all head up, man, I'm gone. You know, you have to, it's only human that you say, like, why not me? When my shot gonna come? When my people gonna get to cry out of joy instead of always crying out of pain? You know, it's just, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot. You know, it's a big thing then, not really now, but a big thing then, pictures. And when people showing you pictures, they're just showing them to you for you to join in their celebration. Most of them, some doing it to try to rub it in your face, but the genuine guys are like, hey man, my people just came back from the Freaknik, or my people just came back from Florida, or my people just came back from, you know, Cuba, whatever. You tell yourself, like, man, I'll be glad when I have that opportunity. You hear me? And man, I need to get out there and do some living. You know, do some living, man. And it was different for me because I came at an age before I was really able to do some living. You know, I got in at 19. I didn't come out to 52. You know,
I want to share something with you, and I love listening. I love paying attention. And every time I pay attention and listen, God speaks to me, right? So I want to share this with you. When you was, I hope this really blesses you, man, because I believe it's going to bless you. God was teaching you something. He was teaching you something. And now watch this. When you was 15 years old, if a storm came, could you stand in it? If a tornado came.
Oh, no.
Okay, hold on. When you was 19, if a tornado came, could you stand in it?
I couldn't, but I still wouldn't get out the way of it.
If it came like a F5. I
was kind of simple enough not to get out the way of it. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you.
If it came, just, and you right there, just follow me. An F5 came. And you right there, can you run through it?
No, I couldn't.
Okay. When you went to parole the first time, if a tsunami came, you know what a tsunami is, right? A tsunami is the water that gets so high. It gets high, and it would tear up something. It would destroy everything. You can't handle it. The tsunami is a bad boy. You wouldn't be able to stand in a tsunami.
No.
At 19. These are all storms. You may not think that life was not working for you, but it was working for you. God was teaching you how to handle storms. Because if you had got out earlier, you will be still in the storm.
Facts.
And you would not be able to endure it. So that now that you're in the life you are living now, if anything comes your way, guess what? You can handle it.
No doubt.
See, all things work together for the good, even the bad. God never left you. He was teaching you. You were in there, but he never left you. Guess what? Because he kept you. And this is how I know. There was a lot of people that was in there didn't get out.
Exactly.
They didn't come out like you. God kept your mind. He kept your mind. You said, I was praying that I don't lose my mind. He answered, because that was his whole plan anyway, is that you don't lose your mind. And here you are. Mind all in order. Your health is in order. And you got the strength to take on any storm that comes your way. It may not look like it was working, but it's working.
For sure.
God was working. And see, God can take any situation and use it so that he can get the glory out of it. And he took you and kept you in everything that you went through so that he can teach you to become the man you are today.
Yes.
You may have thought God gave up on you, but he kept you the whole time. He kept you the whole time. Remember, you said you was good. You was only good because God was protecting you.
Oh, no, without a doubt.
So here's the deal. The devil can't do nothing without God's permission. Here's your moment. You can test him, but you better not kill him.
No doubt.
You can do this, but you better not kill him. Satan, you can take everything from him, but you better not kill him. And so what you thought was for the bad, the devil had to leave you alone. He may have tried to scare you, but he couldn't go as far as taking your life. Because God had a plan for your life.
I believe that.
We think God gives up on us. No, God teaches us and protects us. If the tsunami came right now, you'll be able to stand right in it. If something go bad in your life right now, you'll be able to stand right in it. If all the bills get all corrupt right now in your life, you'll be able to handle it because you know how to move. You know how to work it out. You know how to, if somebody needed some encouragement, you know how to encourage them. Because at 15, you couldn't talk that way.
Exactly.
At 19, you couldn't talk that way.
Exactly.
Because your mind was not there. But God trained your mind. And that's why he didn't allow you to lose your mind.
No doubt.
Know this. You have a purpose. You have a purpose. God did not forget about Willie because he needed Willie. People, you read a note. This is blessing me even I think that you read a note. Said the only way out is hanging yourself.
Facts.
But God had a backup plan, says, I need you to read this note. And that note motivated you to keep on going. See, God had it all set. Why you think you saw it? You're going to make me get excited. Why you think you saw it? God had it already prepared for you. It was he knew the day you was going to come up in that prison. So I'm going to put this note here, and I'm going to put this note here. Because he knew which one you would choose. You took life over death. And here you are today, living your life, and God has kept you. You have a purpose. Because if he didn't, then he would have allowed the enemy to do whatever he wanted to do to you. That would have been easy. He would take him. I don't need him. But God needed you. So that's why he kept you. And he taught you. See, the race is not given to the swift. It's not given to the swift. But you endured. It took you 32 years. But guess what? You won the race.
32 and a half.
32. We're going to put the half on.
You gotta put the half
Put the half on.
You got to put
I'll
the
put the half
half.
on. It took you 32 and a half.
Facts.
But you won the race. Because guess where you at? You sit right here on this podcast talking to me.
No doubt.
And you sharing your story with everybody else on how they can endure the race.
No doubt.
So I want to encourage you, man, to keep going. It ain't over for you. You got a plan, and I hope what I said helps you, encourage you more.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. So you're a cool brother, man. I could tell you in your right mind, but just know the mission of your life was for God to use your life.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
32 and a half years. Remember, Jesus died at 33.
Listen, I think about that. No,
I want to help you. I'm trying to help you.
I think about that often.
Yeah.
Those numbers like that. I really think about that often.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Right. So as I was sitting here, God was telling me to encourage you. And I do this a lot. As the night, I'll sit and I'll pay attention. I'll listen. And as I'm listening, God is speaking. And sometimes I'll be like, God, you want me to say that? And I'll be like, say it. And I say it, and then it makes sense. So, but the purpose of your life was for God to get the glory of your life. You didn't lose your mind.
No.
You didn't take your life. You didn't give up. And here you are today.
Facts. Facts. Yes.
That's how much he loved you.
Yes.
And if you don't see that, I don't know what else to tell you. That's how much he loves you.
Yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
You walked out of there without a scar on your back.
Better believe it. And I don't say that out of arrogance.
No, it's facts. It's facts.
Yeah, I walk straight through that.
Right.
And one of the things, and not to cut you off, one of the things that I definitely always like to share with people this story, because people always wonder how I kept from just giving up like that. But when I first got there, and I explained this to a lot of people, like my mother, she was the greatest to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no, I didn't agree with everything she did.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
But I respected everything she was willing to do to make sure that I was all right. She asked me 2 questions when I got there. When I first got to prison, she asked me 2 questions. The first was, are you a punk? And I'm like, no. Well, no one can. Well, she said, if you're not a punk, then no one can make you one. Nobody can turn you into one. Just remember that. And I said, okay. The second thing she asked me was, what's a home? And I said, no. Why you say that? She said, well, don't ever get up first thing in the morning and make your bed. It really didn't sound like, it didn't, like somebody give you that much time and you at the beginning of it, that doesn't sound like life-saving advice or sane saving advice. It was. I just never got in the habit of getting up. Some people, first thing they do when they get up is make their bed like they're at home. Before they brush their teeth, before they say their prayers, before they thank God for giving them breath or holding his hands over them and their children over the night. Mm-hmm. First thing they do is when they get up, they make them people's bed, man. You hear me? Mm-hmm. As tight as it can be, man, you couldn't pull a shotgun on them to make their bed at home. Mm-hmm. They get up in that prison, man, you walk past their bed in them prisons, it looks immaculate. I never did that because I never felt like I was at home. I always treated that place like a hotel. When I got up out that bed, I left. Them people had to make me make my bed. Florence, report to your bed. Like, what's up? You got to make this bed, man. And even then, I never made it as tight as it could be made. Till people walking by, like, man, look at dude's bed, man. You hear me? They would be like, look at dude's bed, man. Ha. And I'm like, man, dude tripping, man. What's up with his bed, man? Why his bed ain't made, man? bed wasn't made because it wasn't my bed.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The saying you made your own bed, now you got to lie in it is real.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my bed, man. It was a state bed.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't take it with me when I left.
Mm-hmm.
If it was my bed, I would have carried it to the car. I never made it because I never allowed myself to wrap my mind around the fact that I was at home. You hear me? I wasn't at home, man. I was passing through.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept that, and it was something small. But I kept that because that was the jewel that she got. I kept that, and I never let go of that. I don't care. I went to 7 prisons. I never let go of. I ain't gonna jump up and slave over this bed every morning because I'm not here for good. I'm like, listen, and this ain't no shot at nobody that's down forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I don't believe anybody is down forever if they don't allow themselves to be. But like, yeah, you gotta live your life like you getting up out of there one day, and that's what I did, man. I didn't make that bed when I got up.
Once again, if she had not said that, you would be in a different place.
No doubt.
So, this is what I'm telling you. God always had your back, even if he had to use your mom to say what he wanted her.
Facts.
Because I need you to say these things to him. See, God speaks to the spirit. And your mom was influenced by the spirit to say the right words to you.
Facts.
So this is your protection. It started in the beginning.
Facts. I'm gonna say this to you, man. I've got a different type of mother because I don't ever like to speak about her in the past tense because she's still with me. But some of the things that she told me over the course of that time was uncharacteristic for her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because she served me a different message when I was out here amongst the so-called free. But when I was there, she served me the message that I needed to get through that. I didn't always agree with it. It wasn't always good to me. I can look at you and honestly say that, like, there was times when I was like, hey, man, I ain't trying to hear that, man. Respectfully. I'm not trying to hear that because this is what this calls for right here. And it was just uncharacteristic. It was just unbelieving to me that she could look me in my face or speak over the phone words that didn't involve how I was conditioned. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't, man, I'm one of the people who really goes against people using their parents as a scapegoat. But the message that she was giving me when I was in there and I needed to get through that, man, was not the message. It was not the same blueprint I was getting out here.
Right.
What I was getting out here was like, hey, man, mow down everything in front of you to get to where you got to get to. And I ain't knocking her because it was a different time, it was a different place, and I was a different person.
Exactly. So
when I was in there, and the only thing she would feed me, listen, man, it's like, it's a mother's job. It's a mother's job. It's a father's job to provide, I believe, but it's a mother's job to make sure that the food is properly prepared. When an infant, see, they chew up the food before they give it to an infant if they know that he can't digest it. So I look at my situation when I was in there spiritually as my mother, knowing like what I needed for my spiritual nourishment. And I didn't always agree with it. I really always did not agree with that. But in reflection, I'm saying in hindsight, when I look at it, it's like that's what that was. Even I know that what you're saying to be true, that God used her, because sometimes she done said stuff to me that she really didn't agree with. You hear me? Or she didn't even know like why she, you know what I'm saying? But hey, listen, this is what it is.
That's it.
And I'm like, we don't get down like that. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't get down like that. You know what I'm saying? It's we don't get down like that. We gonna go. We on go mode all the time. And it just, I don't even want to put it on age. I don't even want to put it on what she was going through. But there was times when she really gave me stuff for my soul rather than for my mind, for my body. And, I'm grateful for that.
There you go. Well, listen, I'm gonna share this when you said, because you said that in the book of Numbers, Balaam was getting ready to do something he ain't got no business doing. And this is how God works. When God wants to save you, he'll use anything to get your attention. Well, Balaam was getting ready to go say something he ain't got no business to say, but God used the donkey. The donkey was warning him. I'm not calling your mom a donkey. Don't do that, dog. But I'm just using. I'm just saying that God can use.
Are you good?
I'm just saying that God used. That's what God can use. Anything to get our attention.
Yes.
And
yes.
The donkey was like kicking him and everything, and Balaam was like, "Yo, man," like, I'm paraphrasing. He's like, "Hey, why you keep messing with me?" And the donkey talked. He says, "Hey, man, if you go, there's a flaming sword, angel with a flaming sword, get ready to kill you because you getting ready to go do something you ain't got no business doing."
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, he turned around because the animal was trying to warn him. And so God would use people and things to warn us. Hey, look, turn around. Turn around. Because you don't want to go that way. You don't want to go that direction. You don't take that left turn. Turn right. Go straight. God uses us. He's always moving like that to protect us. And so for you, man, 32 years. And a half. 32 years and a half.
Yes.
Get that in your book. And you put it in the comment,
No
32 and a half.
For sure.
Don't play with the numbers.
No, don't play with that half. That half is serious.
So that's amazing. 32 and a half, God kept you, man. Always sending you, giving you encouraging words and doing things to let you know I'm right here. I'm with you, Willie. I got your back because I'm not gonna allow Satan to mess with your mind, to mess with your health. I'm gonna keep you, and I'm gonna always keep you in a safe place. And that's the love of God. That's the love of God. And we sometimes complain and get mad at God when we feel like the world is on our shoulder. But when you're in a position, God is working it out for you. Whether you believe it, you can't see how he's working it, but he's working it. Because guess what? Willie didn't lose his mind. Willie didn't hang himself. Willie came out with a right mind. Willie has got people around him that's protecting him and keeping him in a safe place. Because most people that get out end up homeless. But you came out with you came out with a roof over your head. People were waiting at the gate for you. And that's the love of God. That's his love for you. And I can tell you that all day. That is his love. And that's a love that I can't even explain, that that he protects you from the beginning. You know why? Because he said, before you were formed in your mama's womb, I knew you. I knew you. So he already knew what you was going to get into before you knew what you was going to get on. And guess what? He worked it out before you got into it. This is what I love about God. And this is what I am. And I'm in this situation now where I have to trust him. Why? Because he know. He already worked it out. I just got to get an agreement with him. I just got get an agreement with him that he worked it out. So I could go on with this, man, but I really want you to know you blessed me, man. You really did. You blessed me, man. You thought you was going to do 30 minutes. That God told you. You thought. Because you had to, but because you had to help somebody.
No doubt. And listen to me, man. That is one of the biggest, goals that I have, is that, that people know. Not that they think, not that they feel, that people know.
So in that, what would you say to the people? Encourage them before we close, what would you say to them?
I would like to encourage them to, if they're fortunate enough to have loved ones, I would encourage them to realize that however much time that they're doing, in whatever situation it is, be it in prison, be it just being out here and not having everything that you need. Know that if you got loved ones, that they going through that, they doing that same time with you, even if they don't have the resources to make sure that they can pull you up out of the situation. Your pains are their pains, that's one thing. And that, if you have people that are locked up, everything counts. And I'm not talking about money. You hear me? I'm talking about every prayer, every letter, every word of encouragement. It matters. It adds up, man. My brother, man, I got a younger brother. He was a victim of a violent crime. And, where he was hitting his face and his head with a hammer. And left side of his body doesn't work. But he's still 10 toes down. Let me put that out there. But he told me that when he was in his coma, that he heard everything everybody said. You understand what I'm saying? He heard every word that was spoke to him as far as like encouragement, and he heard every word that was said from the nurses, everything, he heard that. And I like to use that as an example of how even when your people got 2 or 3 fences in between you and them, every word that you say, it's like the butterfly effect. Every word that you say positive to them or towards them, it's strength. You know what I'm saying? It's strength. But the flip side is every negative word you say to them or towards them, it chips away at them. You know what I'm saying? But like, if I can encourage anybody to do anything, man, is that, within reason. Because everything has to be within reason.
Amen.
Man, stay behind your people, man, and just stay down till y'all come up. Even in the true definition of staying down till you come up, to me is, if you gotta stay on your knees. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? Stay in prayer, and like, it's gonna work out. I'm not a real churchy person, and that's not offensive to anybody, but I do understand and believe in the power, you know what I'm saying, of God, and staying on His word, staying in the spirit. I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody is.
No,
sometimes my life is a reflection of
perfect.
that belief. But you just gotta stay down with your people. And it don't have to necessarily be people that you're related to. You just gotta stay down with your people, man. When people down, just stay down with them. If you can afford to, stay down with them. This ain't. I mean, it probably isn't. It's a little bit off subject, but one day, man, I went and I bought a few Lunchables. You hear me? I was working. I bought a few Lunchables, man. I caught a sale at the Sam's Club, and I bought some Lunchables. And I just rode around in every store or every gas station, and I seen people that was out there asking for change, and I gave them something to eat. You hear me? Because you got to stay down with your people, man. You don't know who that is or what they going through. And I just feel like that's what people need to do. I know people feel like if somebody in there and they've been in there 5 or 6 times that you listening to the same old. Well, everything is the same until it's not.
There you go.
You understand what I'm saying? Everything is the same. It's the same old until it's not. I'd rather be the person that moved every time on the same old, and then was there when it was not. Than the person that just like, man, I ain't got time to keep on going through this. If you wanna do better, stay out here, because we never know what somebody going through. You never I tell a friend of mine, I don't never really feel like I know everything, because I know how good of a secret keeper I am. So I know if I can keep a secret, the next person can keep a secret too. You don't know if somebody's been molested. You don't know what somebody's been through that makes them act contrary to what your playbook for their life is. You hear me? You don't know if somebody come from a home where there was a heavy addiction there and they was malnourished or they was abused, you don't really know what somebody got going on for you to be able to pass that type of judgment that you know what they got going on. And that's the only advice I can tell them, man. If you got people that you don't think can get right, you know, do what you can do until they can get right.
There you go.
Because when they gone, you want to be able to say to yourself, I was there to what was perceived to be the end. You understand what I'm saying? I was there. I don't care, like, I was there to the end. And I did what I could do to the end. As far as like putting positive energy out there, praying for him, feeding him when I can, clothing him when I can. I was there to the end. One of the biggest things, my brother, that I missed out on a lot while I did 32 and a half years. But a lot of the stuff that I missed out on, man, I'm thankful to God that I missed out on. I missed out on when it stopped being it to be for each other. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I ain't perfect. I ain't Malcolm. I ain't Martin. I ain't none of that. But I still am at my 19 years of living before I left, felt like I was for me and mine. Like, man, now it's that's the only thing. Like, a lot of stuff I missed out on is stuff where people's attitudes about people have changed. Like, everybody's a gadget person now, and everybody's they more invested into their phones than they is. They can't tell you who their neighbors is on both sides of their house. You hear me? I'm from Westwood, born and raised. And listen, straight up and like we say, straight up and down till they lay us flat out. And we were a community. Westwood is not a neighborhood; it's a people. So I'm a people person. You know what I'm saying? I came home, man. And it's not like that. It's definitely not like that, man. Everything is a grind. Everything is a hustle. Everything resembles a hustle. I'm not gonna say everything is a hustle. I take that back because that's an absolute. Everything resembles a hustle, man. I like to say with all sincerity, man, that I'm glad I was able to meet you, man. And
yeah, no doubt.
You represent a class of a few people who, still are genuinely good people, man.
Amen. Amen.
And one more thing, because I know we dragging, but one more thing I would like to say, man, is that prison doesn't devalue people. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't depreciate them. Society, not as a whole, but as a majority, tend to believe that a person is able only to be assisted if they're on this side of the fence. You understand what I'm saying? By policy, they write it in that people are less valuable when they're in there because they can't be a part of this that's going on out here. But I'm telling you, if you got people that's in there, if you know people that's in there, they haven't depreciated. If anything else, they're appreciating with time because they don't get all the wear and tear that this out here get, where they stop believing in the core values that all of us were born and raised with. You know what I'm saying? If anything, that's placing there puts them closer to it because it's supposed to strip you down, but they filling them places with gadgets and tablets and all type of stuff too to distract them. Because if you 200 years ago, we didn't have anything. So people who were there 200 years ago, the message that they passed down about loving and caring about each other was solid. You fast forward to now, that's been lost in translation so many different ways. But let's say if somebody was in a time capsule and then they came back, they would still be with that message about love, about respect. Even if they wasn't that person when they got put in the time capsule. When they come out, the only thing they know is how it go and the time they was there. And that's how prison is. When you're talking about people doing big numbers. You know what I'm saying? When I got to prison, there was guys locked up since the 70s. You understand what I'm saying? The 70s. So their approach on a black man or their approach on black crime was all the way different. They was looking at me like I was a Nazi. You hear me?
Wow.
Like they was like, y'all was doing what? Y'all what? You hear me? Ah, man, brother, you got to, man, you better pick up a book. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got to, man, you got to tighten up. And I just say that to say, like, man, people always assume that the person that's been gone is lost. Most of the time, it's the people that's been here that got lost, man.
Wow.
But
Wow. Well, whew. I'm telling y'all, if that ain't blessed y'all, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell y'all, man. And man, listen, I'm gonna close because I know you, man. You have. I promise you, you have blessed so many people, man. And man, you just keep being a blessing, man.
no doubt.
Yeah,
You
man.
too, my brother.
No doubt, man. I got people that be trying to get on me. I know I'm gonna talk about a person right now because I know she's watching, and she's gonna talk about me. But my mama, man, I call her little woman. She's my. She keeps us. If I mess up, she'll get on me.
No doubt.
And then my big head sister Tequila, she another one. So she know what I'm talking about. These people care about me. It's good, like you said. It's good to have people that have your back.
No doubt.
You know, Donata. You know, she be praying for me and all that stuff. Man, people, you need them type of people in your life to keep you going.
Yes.
So man, I want to tell you, man, thank you for coming out.
Oh man, without a doubt.
You know, being a blessing, man, and just sharing your story, man. And man, like I said, keep on doing what you do. You know, because people need you, man. You know, so. But listen, y'all, we thank you guys for tuning in to your story. I'm telling you, man, we going to continue to keep this thing going. I'm like I said, I was really blessed, and listen, if it really blessed you, leave your comments down below, man, and say, hey, you know, if anybody that been in that situation that my brother Willie went through, man, you want to reach out to him and says, hey, man, thank you, or leave a, inbox email or something, because I tagged his name, but reach out and say, hey, man, thank you for sharing your story. I really needed that because I was going through that or whatever. So I'm sure he would love to hear that because I'm sure that would encourage you.
No doubt.
So God bless you guys, man. We will see you next time for another episode of Your Story. Next Saturday, we have my man, Daryl Easley. You guys don't want to miss that, man, because God is just using everybody. And I thank God for allowing me to be the host and having this platform to allow people to come and share their story. And it's truly a blessing. So we thank you guys for tuning in and watching.
And one more thing, definitely stay down until you come up. They have to stay down until they come up.
I'm staying down.
Stay all the way down too.
I ain't getting up.
No doubt.
I don't care if the sun come up.
You got to stay down on it, man. Man, thank you, man.
Hey, no problem, man. God bless you, man.
God bless you too.
Yes, sir.
No doubt.
Yeah. All right. God bless you. See you later. Bye.
No doubt.
When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come longing just to bring something that's of worth, that will bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself, it's not what you have required. You search much deeper within, through the way things appear. You're looking into our hearts. I'm coming back with a heart of worship, where it's all about you. It's all about you. Nothing else but you. I'm sorry, Lord, for the things I've made it, where it's all about